need some more light. Okay. Continuing on the piece from yesterday, you can kind of see, ooh, it's bright. You can see the reference for the character over here. What I did was I took my black and white drawing and tried different variations of color. And this is the one that I like most. I like this kind of a neutral grayish blue with the orange stripes along his body. So I got everything on the guy up till that point. I have not done the orange on his sleeves, nor have I done the gray tank top underneath or his skin tones. And that's really all I have left to do. This is just a gray straight out of the tube. And these are some cheap paints from Hobby Lobby. It was like $6 for all of these. They're not very big, but this project isn't going to take up very much of that. There is a concern with some of the paints that when you buy cheap paint, it's not like the highest quality pigment. And there's different levels of pigment or paint. Like there's hobby paint, and here's my glasses. There's different levels of paint in terms of quality versus professional paint. And what the difference is the amount of pigment in the tube versus the amount of medium or filler. This is acrylic, meaning it's a polyvinyl plastic, because when it dries it feels very much like plastic. It's an emulsion, meaning when you put it on it's like a film. It kind of coats everything. So these being cheaper paints, you don't know whether or not they'll have the covering power and the opacity to completely cover up the color underneath it. Cadmium paints are opaque, but they don't include cadmium paints in cheaper kits like this. What they'll do is, what did I get here? Are there two yellows? Let's see, lemon yellow and yellow medium. Yellow medium is the closest thing that I can find. I thought I had an orange, but I guess I have to mix that up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I feel like there's one missing, one tube somewhere that I might have dropped or misplaced. I'll find it. So I'd swear it was an orange. I don't want to have to mix color unless I have to, but it looks like I will because I can't find it. I'll probably find it after the demo's over. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this scarlet and this yellow medium to mix. And real paint, real good quality paint, will contain actual cadmium. Colors like this, it will say cad. Oh, is that reversed? It'll say the word hue. I don't know if you can see it. Hue. What that means is it's not the actual true cadmium color, it's an approximation. It's close, but not quite a cigar. And I think I like the temperature of it rather than this medium it comes with. It looks more different to my eye than it does on the screen, but I may try both. I'll just try both. I gotta mix it up anyway, so. And I hate these cheapies because they have little tabs of foil that cover it up before you can actually get to the paint. Ugh. Ooh, that's very yellow. It's closer to lemon than I wanted, but let's just try. What I'm doing is I'm mixing yellow and this scarlet to get an orange. again, and that's for the stripe. The purpose of the paper towel is to keep the acrylic wet as long as possible for you to work on it. I think it's still too red. Give it some more. A little bit more. Now the reference is my artwork, so it's really up to me how much I really want to be faithful to it. And the reason I'm so concerned with quality paint is when you apply it to your figure, it's not going to necessarily have the covering power. Because like I said, there's more filler than there is pigment. Pigment being powders or dyes. Filler is like, if you want to think about it this way, think of the paint being like Elmer's glue, and then it has colored powder mixed in. Yeah, just looking at this, I don't think it's going to have much covering power. If I was using a true cadmium, it would be fine, but I'm probably going to have to layer this a few times for it to become fully opaque. What I might need to do is get some white and then paint white on top of it and then apply this orange. I think that's what's going to have to happen because it's not cutting it to my satisfaction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this paint off that I just applied, and let's start over but with some white. I'm just dipping the paper towel in some water, and I'm just gonna dab it off. And let's try applying some white to it. I think I might have gesso. Gesso is a very opaque white. Like the white that came with it is not got a whole lot of pigment. Let me take a quick peek here. Yeah, the gesso is not readily available, so I'm just going to make do with this stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint a white stripe on his sleeves and his pant leg, and then I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to paint this orange again on top of it. So just apply a bit of white down here. And I'm going to double check that this brush isn't dirty. I was using it to paint black yesterday, but I think it's okay now. It's always a question of covering power with the paint, whether or not it's sufficient. And with this brush, I'm able to sort of keep a consistent width to the thickness of the stripe going down his uniform. Typically when I draw, I try to let the size of the detail, the smallest detail that I need to illustrate, determine what I should be setting as my size. So if I need to do eyes, I would do a bigger head so that I can get the details of the eyes. Y'all understand that? Can I ask a question, sir? Is it okay if I present my finished armature as a picture instead of video? Yeah, that's fine. I don't mind seeing pictures of you guys' armatures. This is kind of awkward because I don't know where to put everything for the sake of comfort. I haven't figured out painting yet for a 3D object. I didn't realize I needed to paint his collar. I should have left it white instead of painting it gray. I am tipping over the base that he's standing on so that I can get angles that are comfortable for me. The more comfortable you are painting, the better your work tends to be. I mean, all things being equal, I probably should have refined the folds of his clothing, because a lot of it, I worked on it so long that my hand melted the details of the folds that I made. I'm sure there's people probably watching me cringing at how I'm doing this. I need to adjust the camera so you guys can see. Got paint on my pencil sharpener. Normally I would also use shorter brushes rather than these long ones. But I don't care for these long ones, so I'm not too worried if I thrash them. And I'm applying this white to his collar because his collar is going to be orange. And this paint is not terribly opaque, so it needs the white to come through the paint as opposed to applying the orange straight on. This is pretty fun and relaxing to do. I mean, it's kind of stressful doing a demo, but painting and just talking is kind of chill. And I mean to go over these again because it doesn't always get opaque on the first pass. So I'm just going to move on and do the stripes on his shoulders. And keep in mind, this character is a mechanic, so I may want to dirty him up a little bit, like make grease stains or dirt stains on his uniform. in which case using acrylic transparently is beneficial, because you want to apply the paint while it's still wet and then wipe it off. You know, this part is kind of dull as far as just painting white stripes on the sides of the character. I don't know if there's anything video worthy about what I'm doing as of yet. I feel like there's going to be more. I'm going to switch to a different brush to go up here because it's a lot tighter with his hand. So I'll paint his legs here, this lower leg. All the way down to the cuff. I'm gonna go get another brush. I already have my other brush here loaded with orange. Loaded with orange, and I don't want to pollute it, have it pollute this white just yet. I need to put down more pure white, so I'm just gonna go grab a brush, another one. I have a bunch of these from like one of those paint and wine parties. A friend asked me to host one to do a fundraiser, so I did. Now with the small one, I can get into the gap here in his knee pad. And again, the whole point of putting this white down is so that I can cover it with orange, which I will probably do off screen because it's boring. But the only thing I think you guys will benefit from watching me is just understanding how hard it is to move your figure around and paint in the spaces without messing up, touching something you didn't want to touch with paint. Someone in the other class decided to build their sculpture in parts so that their legs were separate from the body, so they can put them together after, which is a smart approach, I think. I don't know how long this recording has gone so far, but I'm trying to go fast and not bore you. My class isn't boring, is it? I hope you guys are entertained and are learning to your satisfaction in this class. It's a little bit of a crapshoot because, like I said, sculpture is new to me, and I'm trying to learn on the fly while showing you how to do it. Y'all with me still? Give me a shout out in the chat. We're still here. Now I can be more precise on the front of his top. Thank you, Andre. Alright, so you can see the stripes on his shoulder, right? This part, it's pretty dry. The advantage of acrylics is that it dries very quickly. So I have a brush for the white and I have a brush for the orange. So if I try the orange once again to try to apply to the stripe that I just made, now it should pop a little better. Actually, it's still pretty transparent. That's what happens when you don't have the actual true cadmium pigment. It's just not opaque and it doesn't quite sing. You have to really layer it on thick to get the value and saturation that I'm looking for. So, orange stripes now. I may have to coat it again after that orange first pass dries. I'm trying to do it in the order that I started doing it so that I'm working on the driest part of the acrylic. This is very awkward. I have not figured out how to do like this ground level webcam. Like where's the best place for it for what I'm working on? Because I've never painted in 3D. I've never worked in 3D, to be quite honest. Doing these kinds of projects. And even then it's a little bit blurry. I gotta move the camera back a bit. It's crazy to me that I created this character and his story 10 years ago. I never finished the whole thing. The title of my story is called Enemy Moon. And then Rebel Moon came out, so I'm like, I need to change it. There's a whole lot of similarity to it, so like my story was kind of derivative of other stories. I kind of like the Firefly universe, and I was trying to create something similar. You know, kind of like people in space, but farming on different planets. But this was in 2013 that I did this for my degree. This is like my portfolio review from when I was in school. That's where this story came from. And I just got busy and started working after graduating, and I never revisited this thing. Maybe I will. But I have other stories that I wanted to do. try this. Should have mixed up more of a batch of this orange so that I wouldn't have to try to match it, but I think I'm in the ballpark and I don't have to worry that much about. There's only 2 colors that I'm using to make it, so I wanted him to have orange stripes as like a safety feature to his uniform here. It was too small of me to make tools for him. Although I wish he was holding a wrench and a rag. Now that I'm doing these stripes, I think I need to do the skin tones and stuff as a separate video. I just don't want it to get too long. Just trying to paint as much color as I can without having to get too complex with it. Like whatever I can do straight out of the tube is what I'm doing. So you can do the same thing. Just try to strategize how you want to do some of this. And the paint, before it dries, you can wipe it off with your finger a little bit. I don't know if I like this angle. I feel like this is better. For you guys anyway. Out of curiosity, do you guys find this class and this assignment stressful or relaxing? Because for me, it's pretty relaxing. I thought it would be stressful doing something I've never done before and teaching you guys how to do it. But I'm just letting the chips fall where they may and letting you guys know the truth that I'm not a sculptor and I am just learning as I go. Because the reality is that you're going to be asked to learn things that you did not train to do in school. You're going to end up having to learn techniques and software that didn't exist while you were in college. And that's always the case. There's something new, something improved that will require more training, more practice. But as long as you have understanding of the fundamentals and a willingness to proceed without fear, you can probably tackle it, you know? Because fear is the big paralyzer. Fear is the mind killer. You must bend like a reed in the wind. Do any of you guys know what I'm referring to when I say that? Bend like a reed in the wind. Good, I'm glad you're looking forward to the painting. Sometimes I wonder if I should have everybody do the sculpture first so that they already have their paint, and then do the illustration assignments later. Because a lot of people are afraid of paint. They don't want to do anything with it. What they don't want to risk is failure. They don't want to look bad. They don't want to have projects in their portfolio that they can't use or show to anybody. Alright, I think I got most of the stripes here. I'm also going to wash him down with some brown so it'll kind of seep into the folds and cracks and look like his uniform is really old and used. Just remember, make sure your sculpture is the best you can make it before you do this part, before you fire it. Because if you only get to a point where you just start because you're on a deadline, you're making things harder for yourself. What I want to do here with all of this is kind of run into all the problems that I'm going to face doing it so that you can see me deal with those problems. And the intention of this last assignment is to finish it up and put it at the end of your final. There's probably been enough opportunity in class to get most of your final done. So next week being study week shouldn't be too bad for you. Alright, I think I'll do one more thing. I'm going to color his tank top brown. It's more of a burnt sienna. But I'm going to mix this brown with a little bit of black. I did buy burnt umber, but I don't feel like busting it out. Like this big tube of burnt umber, I feel like it's going to be more filler than pigment, and it'll just be transparent and not as not have the covering power that I want. And this is such a small area right here on his shirt. And I see that I actually made it more of a blue-gray. And I was using the blue-gray yesterday. And I don't see where I set it down. That's the color that's missing. I can make a blue-gray, but that was already close to the color. So irritating having poor organizational skills. Shoot, I'm not seeing it. Alright, I'm going to use this ultramarine looking color to mix with the burnt sienna and make it more of a gray. This packaging is ass. It's unfortunate because that color is the gray of his jumpsuit, straight out of the tube. I'm going to grab some white to make it more neutral. trying to let's see how this looks. It just has to be different from the gray of his uniform. And it's really transparent. I don't have a maul stick to really control all of this. It's very difficult. And it's unfortunate that it's blurry because you're so close. Since this is all very transparent, I'm going to try putting some shade into the wrinkles of his clothing, trying to make it a little dirty. I got too much on there, so I'm just going to let it run a bit on him, and then I'm going to wipe it off so that leaves the paint in the cracks. So he looks a little bit weathered. Really see. Okay, I'm going to do it on his backside so that you can see it a little better. See that his butt has all kinds of wrinkles and stuff? I'm just going to get some more of some very wet, watery paint and water and just kind of rub it into the cracks of the clothing so that they stand out a little bit better. This is called applying a wash. You can see that I cut off his armature of his back. I also wrapped the base in paper so that when I'm done I can take it off and it'll look clean as opposed to having stray marks of paint. So I dipped the dirty paper towel on him, and I'm just kind of dabbing to pick up some of that dirt, but not all of it, so the water and the paint kind of flows into the cracks of his back and makes it a little darker. I mean, this is like an art in itself. You'll see people get like torn pieces of sponge from a kitchen sponge and dab some of this texture onto their characters. That's all valid techniques. I'm trying to make the parts of him dark and dirty that would make sense, like his butt and his elbows, like anything that he would rub. I'm trying to save his skin tones for last. And I probably should have a hairdryer ready for this. I do have one, but I have to crawl under my table to plug it in. It's not terribly convenient. But anyway, I think that's enough for the video. I think you guys can see where it's at and how it looks. I will get to his flesh tones next time, the next video. But I hope that's all helpful to you. You can see all of the wrinkles I've put in and trying to make him look dirty. As long as the acrylic is still wet, you can wipe it off. Alright, I'm going to pause it and come back. My mouse. There we go. I'll be back in a bit.